When we saw your thoughts on Brianna Wiest's The Pivot Year,
Mhm.
it really got us thinking. It seemed like it hit home for you, especially the audiobook with Stacey Glomboski narrating. You even mentioned wanting something more, beyond the usual self-help stuff.
Yeah, absolutely. It felt like you were really digging into the book, not just skimming the surface. Like you were looking for those big fundamental changes, not just quick fixes, and that you really connected with the audiobook format, maybe because it felt more real and personal with the narrator's voice.
That's spot on, and it's what we're all about here. So in this deep dive, we're going to unpack those 8 big lessons you highlighted from the Pivot Year.
I am excited for this.
Me too. We're going to really explore what those lessons mean for you, especially since you're at a kind of crossroads right now. It's more than just a summary. We want to get to those aha moments.
Exactly, like taking those abstract ideas and making them feel real and relevant to your life right now.
Right. Okay, so let's jump into the first lesson. Change begins the moment you decide it does. Now, this might sound simple at first glance, but your reflection really brought out the power of that initial decision, that internal commitment to change. It's like you were challenging the idea that we need some kind of external permission slip or the perfect time to start.
It's interesting, isn't it? Why do we hesitate to give ourselves that permission? We often wait for things to line up perfectly, a new year, a Monday, some big life event, as if we need that external validation to start making changes. But as this lesson points out, the real power comes from deciding within yourself that you're ready.
And your reflection totally resonated with that. You talked about always waiting for the right moment, like saying, I'll start Monday, or the whole New Year's resolution thing. We're always waiting for the starting gun to fire. But the insight here, and you really tapped into this, is that waiting often masks a fear of actually starting.
Yes. And that procrastination, that waiting for the right time, often comes from fear of the unknown or maybe even a lack of self-trust. But when you decide now, in this moment, you bypass all that. You shift the focus away from external factors and onto yourself. You realize that the most powerful catalyst for change is actually within you. It's like you're taking control of your own life.
That makes so much sense. Okay, let's move on to the second lesson. You don't have to know the whole plan, just the next step. This one really hit home for me, especially when you're facing a big transition and it feels overwhelming. You even use that brilliant analogy of driving at night with headlights.
Oh, I love that analogy because it's just like when you're facing a huge change, you don't need to see the whole road ahead eliminated. You just need to see enough to take the next step.
Exactly. And in your reflection, you described it as this deep exhale, like a wave of relief washes over you because you realize you don't have to have every detail figured out right this second. You just need to focus on what's right in front of you.
And think about how our minds work. That feeling of being overwhelmed can trigger our fight or flight response, making us want to just avoid the whole thing. But if we break down those huge goals into smaller, bite-sized steps, well, then we don't get so anxious. Each little step builds momentum and helps us see the next step more clearly. It's about progress, not perfection.
I love that. Progress, not perfection. I'll write that down. Okay, on to the third lesson, which might be a bit tougher to swallow. The life you want is on the other side of the life you're settling for. This one really cuts to the chase. It's about letting go of what's comfortable, even if it isn't really fulfilling.
This gets to a really fundamental human struggle. We crave growth, but we also resist change, especially when it means letting go of something familiar, even if it's not truly making us happy. It's like we get stuck in this inertia, and we stay in a situation even when we know deep down it's not good for us.
It's so true. In your reflection, you asked this really powerful question: what am I still holding on to out of fear? That really struck a chord with me.
That's a profound question because it gets to the heart of why we settle. It's not always because we don't want something better, but because we're scared. Scared of the unknown, scared of failing, scared of being uncomfortable. Clinging to the familiar feels safe, even if it's holding us back. It takes real courage to face those fears and choose a path that might actually make us happy, even if it's a little scary.
It's like choosing the unknown over the devil you know. Right? Lesson 4 is a really interesting perspective. Self-sabotage is just self-protection in disguise. Instead of beating ourselves up for those self-sabotaging behaviors, it suggests that maybe they're actually attempts to protect ourselves, even if they're not doing a very good job of it.
This is such a valuable shift in thinking. Instead of blaming our character or thinking there's something wrong with us, we can see these behaviors as coming from a need for safety. Procrastination, negative self-talk, avoiding things, these can all be ways of trying to protect ourselves from change or growth, even if it means staying stuck.
And you gave some great examples of this in your reflection. Avoiding opportunities because you're afraid to fail. Pushing people away because you're afraid of getting hurt. Staying small because you're afraid of the unknown. It's like our minds are trying to shield us from potential pain, even if that means missing out on something amazing.
Exactly. Our brains are programmed to survive, to minimize risk. And sometimes even positive changes can feel threatening to our sense of equilibrium. But when we see self-sabotage as a form of protection, we can start to understand the fears driving those behaviors. And understanding is the first step to making a change, right? Like if you're procrastinating because you're afraid to fail, well, then you can start to address that fear and find healthier ways to cope with it.
Yeah, fear of failure is such a big one, isn't it? Okay, lesson 5 is something we often try to run away from. Growth is uncomfortable, and that's the point. It tells us that discomfort is not just something to endure, but a sign that we're actually evolving. It's part of the process.
It's so true. As humans, we're wired to seek comfort and avoid pain. But growing, changing, becoming a better version of ourselves, it requires us to step outside of our comfort zones, to challenge our beliefs, to do things that feel scary. And yeah, that can be uncomfortable emotionally, mentally, even physically sometimes.
You mentioned in your reflection that you really felt that urge to go back to what's familiar when things start feeling uncomfortable. Like our internal compass wants to steer us back to safety, even if it means staying stuck.
And neurologically speaking, that makes total sense. Our brains like predictability. They want to conserve energy. Growth requires forming new neural pathways, which takes effort and feels strange, uncomfortable. But that feeling of being stretched, of facing resistance, that's a signal we're expanding, learning, pushing past our limits. It's a good thing, even if it doesn't always feel good.
Okay, lesson 6 is simple, but so powerful. You become what you repeat. It highlights how our daily habits shape who we become over time. It's not just about grand gestures, but about those little things we do day in and day out.
Our actions have a cumulative effect, you know? Our character, our identity, it's not fixed. We're constantly shaping it through what we do every day. You gave those great examples in your reflection about how procrastination can chip away at your discipline, and self-doubt can erode your confidence.
And that concept that every action is a vote for the type of person we want to be. It's a huge wake-up call to pay attention to those little, seemingly insignificant choices we make throughout the day.
Right. Our habits create feedback loops that reinforce who we think we are and what we believe we're capable of. When we build consistent positive habits, that aligns with our values and goals and reinforces the person we want to become. But on the other hand, those negative habits, they can create a downward spiral and really hold us back. It reminds us that who we are tomorrow is largely determined by what we do today.
So powerful. Okay, lesson 7 takes us into the world of our inner narratives. The stories you tell yourself shape your reality. It's all about acknowledging the power of those beliefs we hold, often without even realizing it.
This is huge for self-awareness and growth. The stories we tell ourselves about who we are, what we can do, and even how the world works, they shape our perceptions, our decisions, our entire experience of life. And often these stories come from our past, from childhood, from experiences that maybe weren't so great, and they become so ingrained we don't even realize they're running the show.
You mentioned in your reflection that you started thinking about your own limiting beliefs and where they came from, like maybe from childhood or societal pressures or past failures. It makes you question if these beliefs are even true or if they're just stories you've been telling yourself.
Exactly. Often these limiting beliefs aren't based on facts. They're just our interpretations of events or maybe things other people told us. Recognizing that they're just stories, not truths set in stone, is the first step to changing them. And it can be tricky because our brains like to confirm what they already believe, so we have to be really intentional about questioning those stories and being open to new perspectives.
And finally, we arrive at lesson 8, which seemed to really resonate with you. You owe it to yourself to try. It flips the script from being afraid of failing to realizing that not trying at all can lead to even bigger regrets.
This is a call to action, a reminder to stop letting fear paralyze us and to just go for it. Sometimes we're so worried about messing up that we don't even give ourselves the chance to succeed. You mentioned that feeling of looking back and wondering what if, and how that can be even more painful than the possibility of failing.
That really stuck with me too. The idea that these dreams we have, these desires, they're there for a reason. And if we don't even try, we're denying ourselves a chance to experience joy, fulfillment, growth, all of it. We're holding ourselves back from really living.
It's true. Our aspirations have value. Ignoring them can lead to this deep sense of emptiness and regret, which can be way worse than just trying and maybe not getting it right the first time. It's about being vulnerable, taking that leap of faith, and pursuing what we truly want. It's an act of self-respect and self-love.
So as we wrap up this deep dive, it seems the biggest takeaway from the pivot year, at least from your perspective, is that we have the power to change. It's about making conscious choices and taking action, both internally and externally, to create the life we dream of.
You got it. These 8 lessons really highlight how important it is to be self-aware, to make deliberate decisions, and to be okay with feeling uncomfortable, because that's often a sign we're growing. They give us a roadmap for navigating those turning points in our lives with more clarity and courage.
To recap those key lessons for you: 1. The power to change starts with your decision. 2. Focus on the next step, not the whole staircase. 3. Real fulfillment means stepping outside your comfort zone. 4. Self-sabotage might actually be a clumsy form of self-protection. 5. Discomfort equals growth. 6. Your habits determine who you become. 7. The stories you tell yourself create your reality. And 8. You absolutely owe it to yourself to try.
Wow, when you lay it out like that, it's really powerful. Each lesson offers a unique perspective on how we live our lives and make choices.
So as you continue to think about all this, we want to leave you with this question. Which of these 8 lessons resonates most with you right now? And what's one small, concrete step you could take based on what we discussed today? Remember, sometimes the biggest pivot starts with a quiet moment of reflection and a simple commitment to trying. Thanks for taking this deep dive with us.